District Attorney Alvin Bragg has just given way for former President Donald Trump to get a huge win. So DA Alvin Bragg, he's come out to say that he's okay with the delay of the hush money trial sentencing. Well, really, he has no choice. But we were supposed to see it within July, but that's all changed now. In fact, it's now being moved, if it even happens at all. And this is what many analysts see as a win for Donald Trump, as the sentencing might not even make any sense. By the time Judge Juan Merchan decides to sentence Donald Trump, he might already be in line to be the 47th president of the United States. The former president's hush money case was filled with drama and outside information, one of which focused very heavily on the family of Judge Juan Merchan. He was exposed as a very corrupt judge, as independent journalists found out that his own daughter was making millions of dollars off of top Democrats that absolutely hated Donald J. Trump. But despite his conflict of interest, Juan Merchan ignored any call for his recusal from the trial. He planned to sentence Donald Trump just days before the 2024 Republican National Convention, an event that the former president is expected to officially be nominated as their candidate for the White House. But a crucial Supreme Court decision on Donald Trump's immunity has changed everything. And it's now led experts to believe that even Alvin Bragg knows that he's toast.
So we just got a copy of the letter from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to the judge overseeing former President Donald Trump's hush money case. And they say in it that they're okay with delaying sentencing for 2 weeks. That sentencing was supposed to happen in 9 days.
That is surprising coming from Alvin Bragg, though, right?
I think because, last night, Trump's legal team filed a motion saying that they want to toss a conviction in light of the Supreme Court's presidential immunity ruling.
Yeah.
And they spoke about evidence in the trial that was introduced that Trump social media posts about his former lawyer Michael Cohen. They say because that was done when he was president, that should have never been introduced.
Yeah.
Now, they didn't use that immunity ruling in their defense. They didn't talk about immunity, presidential immunity, during their defense of the trial. And the Manhattan District Attorney's Office says that in their filing. They say, although we believe the defendant's arguments to be without merit, we do not oppose his request for leave to file.
Interesting.
So this sentencing was supposed to happen on July 11th, but they're okay, they're saying, with pushing it back at least until July 24th. Now, if you remember, Trump was convicted of 34 counts of falsifying business records related to hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels in an effort to influence the 2016 election.
But some of those checks being that he wrote while he was president, so possibly that may fall under that Immunity Act.
That's it, folks. Alvin Bragg is done, and he's not hiding it. You heard how they said that this wasn't like the DA, that he's not acting like himself by not opposing Judge Juan Merchan's extension of this sentencing. Now, the belief within the legal experts is that he knows what's coming. Donald Trump is in for a huge win in this case. And the same can probably be said for his other cases against DA Fani Willis, AG Letitia James, and Special Counsel Jack Smith. They're probably seeing the writing on the wall, and they're going to try and save themselves before they get into more trouble. And the same can be said for Judge Juan Merchan, who Trump has dubbed as corrupt and biased. Now, as you guys may be aware now, the Supreme Court voted 6-3 to determine that Donald Trump did have presidential immunity while in office.
In a 6-3 opinion, the Supreme Court ruled Monday that former presidents have absolute immunity from prosecution for official acts related to their core constitutional powers. But the court said there is no immunity for unofficial acts and gave some guidance on how lower courts can draw that line.
For those things that are just within the president's ambit, absolute immunity. For official acts in general, at least presumptive immunity. For unofficial acts, no immunity.
Former President Donald Trump has repeatedly argued that he had absolute immunity.
You have to give a president full and total immunity.
In a scathing dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote about the potential dangers of this decision on U.S. democracy. The ruling affects Special Counsel Jack Smith's prosecution of Trump for election interference for his role in the January 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol. The case now goes back to the lower court, which will have to look at what acts are official and what are unofficial.
There is an enormous amount of legal work that is now going to have to unfold over the next several months.
By waiting until July to issue their ruling, the justices have severely reduced the likelihood of Trump standing trial before the November election.
However, the claim is that this is for official acts made during his term. That in and of itself is also pretty complicated, as lower courts would have to determine what counts as an official act. Now, this is also setting a precedence for President Joe Biden, as many experts expect that he will be judged in the same way once he leaves the White House, which is why there are those who say that President Joe Biden should be thanking former President Donald Trump, as this decision may end up bailing his butt out of trouble. Although, it might not get him out of everything that he's done while in the White House. In their recent debate, Donald Trump said that President Biden himself could be a convicted felon as soon as he leaves the office, citing that the many different policies that have affected Americans here at home. And here's something else that's come from the debate: excuses from the Biden campaign. Do you know why he was so slow during the debate against Donald Trump? Well, according to the president, he almost fell asleep on stage. His poor debate performance was due to him being extremely tired due to foreign travel. In a fundraiser in Virginia, Biden was quoted in saying, quote, "I wasn't very smart. I decided to travel around the world a couple of times shortly before the debate. I'll get to his schedule in a second, but I guess it does make sense, right? I mean, just look at Trump. He was going all over the place in New York while he was facing the hush money trial. During his free time, he was out campaigning where he could around the area. And as most of us know, some critics of the former president believe that he fell asleep at least once during his hearing. Donald Trump packed his schedule to get as many Americans as he could, even though he was facing jail time. But let's look at President Biden's schedule before his debate with Donald Trump, shall we? He was in France for the D-Day anniversary. That would be June 6th, the same event where his own wife, Joe Biden, had to pull him out from the stage because he was trying to sit down where there were no chairs. That would have been kind of funny if she didn't catch him. He left that event early. He returned from Italy from the G7 summit back on June 14th. He went to Camp David by June 20th to prepare for the debate. So that's 6 days off after getting back from Italy. He then had an entire week off after he left Camp David by the 27th in order to travel to Atlanta for the debate, which really doesn't make sense if you look at the schedule. He had tons of time off. What is he talking about? Now, I have to mention that between June 18th and June 20th, he was at the beach. He was at the Rehoboth Beach getaway. Now, you might be thinking that this debate prep was intense, but it doesn't seem to be the case. It never started before 11 a.m., and the president was always allowed time to take an afternoon nap every single day that he was in Camp David. Now, the president says that this is not an excuse, it's an explanation. Okay, label it whatever you want to. But this is what he was telling his donors in Virginia. Do you believe him, guys? Maybe he needed 2 weeks off, who knows? At this point, the momentum has shifted and Donald Trump is at the driver's seat. The expectation now is that most, if not all of his legal issues will be dropped one by one, which could lead to one of the greatest political comebacks ever witnessed in history. Now, before I let you guys go, you should definitely check out a previous video that I did regarding Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's endorsement of Donald Trump. She talked about one of the most shocking facts that I've heard all year, and everybody's buzzing about it. Now, definitely check that video out. I'll leave a link for you guys down below in the description. As always, I really appreciate you guys for being here and for keeping yourselves informed. Thanks so much for hitting the like button and subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one, guys.